I just slipped a teeny tiny bit of special romance powder into the enemy's rations. That very night, the enemy camp completely exploded. Even their first prince ended up rolling in the hay with his own generals. He practically begged my dad to accept their surrender, offering land and huge reparations. But their only condition was that I be kicked out of the army. My dad felt my tactics completely humiliated him, so he actually agreed to their terms. He kicked me all the way back to the capital and wrote a letter to the emperor, begging him to find me a decent husband. The emperor read about my little stunts, and finally decided to marry me off to the handsome crown prince, Xiao Jingyan. Faced with a crown princess dropping right out of the sky, Xiao Jingyan obviously wasn't too thrilled. But his dad, the emperor, warned him with complete deadpan seriousness. This woman must never fall into anyone else's hands. If a biological weapon like her ends up in an enemy country, our great Yang dynasty will be left without an heir. On our wedding day, I could tell at a glance just how reluctant he was. When the maid brought over the traditional wedding wine, I just smiled and grabbed both cups. Thanks for your hard work, ladies. We'll take it from here. The maid looked a bit confused and glanced at the crown prince for a cue. Seeing Xiao Jingyan nod, she quickly bowed and backed out of the room. The moment the bedroom doors closed, I downed both cups of the wedding wine in one gulp. Then, completely ignoring his dumbfounded expression, I walked over to the table and poured myself another cup. Your Highness, you want some? Xiao Jingyan was absolutely speechless. He just awkwardly shook his head. It wasn't until I had chugged the entire pot of wine that I finally felt my thirst quenched. He stared at me blankly for a long time before sighing. Shen Lingshuang, do you even remember that you're getting married today? That was our nuptial wine. Well, you didn't want to marry me anyway, right? Why bother with all these fake formalities? Xiao Jingyan's face instantly stiffened. He was way too polite, and felt that making his reluctance so obvious was incredibly rude. I just waved my hand dismissively. No worries, no worries. I didn't want to marry you either. Is that really something a royal couple should say on their wedding night? So, Your Highness, I heard you already have a sweetheart. Why didn't you just marry her? Did your dad, did His Majesty say no? His face was a picture. He never in his wildest dreams imagined that his new bride would be so eagerly digging for his juicy gossip. But seeing me staring at him with burning curiosity, he didn't hide it. No, she is 2 years older than me. She's already married. The lady has found her match. Oh, what a heartbreaking tragedy. Xiao Jingyan looked utterly exasperated. It's not exactly like that. Ignoring his defense, I generously patted his shoulder. It's all good. Even though we were forced into this by royal decree, we can just be bros for now. I don't have many good traits, but I'm super loyal. Later on, when you take the throne, you can sneak your sweetheart into the palace, and I'll totally cover for you. As the noble crown prince, Xiao Jingyan was elegant, majestic, and perfectly gentle. This was his very first time dealing with someone so blunt and absolutely filterless. Wait, no, didn't I just tell you? She is already married. I was a little surprised, but completely blunt about it. Yeah, I heard you. Then just snatch her and drag her into the palace. Wouldn't that solve everything? Xiao Jingyan truly got to experience firsthand what it really means when a refined scholar meets a shameless soldier. I could tell exactly what he was thinking just by looking at his face. Your Highness, what's there to be so shy about? Even Emperor Xuanzang snatched his own daughter-in-law. You're going to be the emperor. Can't you just do whatever you want? What's the point of sitting on the dragon throne otherwise? I clearly saw the veins throbbing on Xiao Jingyan's forehead. He clearly couldn't handle a lawless lunatic like me. I awkwardly scratched my chin. Hey, I was just kidding. Or how about I help you snatch her? Xiao Jingyan completely lost the will to even talk to me. He stood up to leave, but I quickly grabbed the hem of his robes. No, wait, just sleep here tonight. Don't be shy, make yourself right at home. I mean, if your Highness walks out now, how are we going to explain it tomorrow when His Majesty and the Empress ask? We won't be able to explain it. Come on, we're totally bros. I promise I won't lay a finger on you. Xiao Jingyan looked up and let out a long, heavy sigh. In the end, he didn't walk out of the bridal chamber. On our wedding night, sharing the very same bed, Xiao Jingyan somehow managed to sleep with all the awkward tension of a forbidden, same-sex romance between two men. But unfortunately for him, In the middle of the night, I tossed and turned, and kicked him right off the wedding bed. Early the next morning, Xiao Jingyan and I went into the palace to pay our respects to the emperor and empress. The royal couple stared at Xiao Jingyan, who kept rubbing his lower back, with very knowing smiles. Xiao Jingyan looked absolutely furious. He glared at me from angles where the others couldn't see. Knowing I was totally in the wrong, I made sure to hold his arm to support him as soon as we stepped outside. We were the only ones who knew the real truth behind his sore back. But to anyone else, our actions looked incredibly intimate. Cousin, you just had your royal wedding yesterday. But the crown princess is acting way too shamelessly. Xiao Jingyan and I turned toward the voice. It was the young girl we had just seen at the Empress Dowager's palace. She was standing pretty far away earlier, and the Empress Dowager hadn't introduced her, so I had no idea who she was. But judging by that nasty attitude, she was definitely an enemy, not a friend. Xiao Jingyan's face darkened. Wanning, do not be so rude. Lu Wanning looked incredibly arrogant, completely brushing off Xiao Jingyan's scolding. It's not like I'm wrong. You are so noble and elegant, cousin. And yet you married an absolute beast. I heard the crown princess just came back from the northern border, spending all her days messing around with soldiers in the army camps. She has absolutely no sense of refinement. Before I could even say a word, Xiao Jingyan was already furious. Lu Wanning, seeing that the crown prince was genuinely angry, the girl's face actually showed a hint of fear. But of course, she absolutely refused to apologize to me. She just rolled her eyes and ran off. It wasn't until I heard Xiao Jingyan call out her full name that I finally remembered who she was. She was the Empress Dowager's biological granddaughter, and the crown prince's little cousin. I scratched my cheek, putting the pieces together. The little brat was probably aiming for the crown princess seat herself, but I swooped in and stole it right from her. Xiao Jingyan was just about to comfort me, but then he saw my completely innocent face. Wait, was she just insulting me? I mean, I understood her. It's just been a while since anyone insulted me in such a roundabout way. So I didn't catch on right away. Huh, that little lady's got some real talent. Quoting classic literature just to call me names. Good thing she said it to me. If it were anyone else in the army, they wouldn't have understood a word. Ha ha ha. Why shouldn't I stoop to her level? Xiao Jingyan froze, suddenly at a loss for words. If she's acting out of pure jealousy and only targeted me, I could let it slide. But you heard her. She was clearly looking down on every single military officer. If I just swallow this insult, who knows how much more grief I'll have to deal with later on in the capital. Just yesterday, Xiao Jingyan still thought I was just a reckless, outspoken girl from a military family. But after what I just said, he could clearly see a fierce, cunning spark in my eyes. Xiao Jingyan didn't actually mind me teaching Lu Wanning a little lesson. I'm not asking you to back down, he said. It's just that the military forces aren't stationed in the capital, and Wanning is my royal aunt's daughter. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to step in. It's just a petty squabble. There's no need to bother the military for this. Besides, why would I need you to step in? Then what are you going to do? Blow things out of proportion, of course. Drag everyone into the mess. The very next day, almost everyone in the capital had heard the news. The young lady of the Lu family despised the military, and had even mocked the crown princess as a vulgar savage. It caused an absolute uproar. Public outrage shoved Lu Wanning right into the line of fire. The poor girl had zero experience dealing with this kind of backlash, which only ended up proving her arrogant reputation. Even the imperial censors brought it up in court. In the end, Lu Wanning got a severe scolding from both the Empress Dowager and the Emperor, and was grounded by her own parents. Xiao Jingyan was completely blown away by my ability to stir up drama out of thin air, escalate the conflict, and let others do the dirty work for you. Take notes, Your Highness. Xiao Jingyan just gave a helpless smile, looking at me with a newfound sense of respect. Even though there wasn't any romance between Xiao Jingyan and me, in all fairness, His Highness treated me pretty well. At the very least, he was way better than my own older brother. Instead of stealing my stuff, the Crown Prince actually had people bring me all sorts of delicious snacks. Life in the capital was definitely a lot more comfortable than up in the northern borders. To return the favor, I threw together a northern-style barbecue to pay off my debt to Xiao Jingyan. With our sleeves rolled up and legs sprawled out, the two of us sat across from each other around a small charcoal grill. The lamb skewers were sizzling away, and the smell was absolutely heavenly. But something was clearly bothering him. He was completely zoned out while sipping his drink. Having zero awareness that a crown princess wasn't supposed to meddle in politics, I just blurted out, "What's eating you? Got something on your mind? Spit it out." Xiao Jingyan thought for a second, figuring it wasn't exactly a state secret anyway. "The imperial court wants to build a dam in the southwest," he explained, "but the Ministry of Revenue is pushing back, claiming the treasury is totally empty." Classic crown prince. Even when he's just chilling and eating at home, he's still stressing out over the country and its people. Can't the local wealthy elites and the common folks pitch in some silver? I asked. Xiao Jingyan didn't laugh at my lack of political knowledge, but instead patiently explained it to me. The Southwest is incredibly poor. There aren't that many wealthy families out there, and don't even get me started on the common folks. The royal court wants to build a dam, mostly to irrigate the farmlands, and make life a little easier for the people. Now, I might not know much about politics, but I know a thing or two about the map of Great Yang. Couldn't those neighboring countries in the southwest chip in a bit? Xiao Jingyan laughed right out loud. Great Yang is building the dam. Why on earth would they cough up the silver for it? Then let's just not build it. Let's just blow up Wulong Mountain and drain all the floodwaters right into the neighboring countries. That solves the problem too. Xiao Jingyan was absolutely dumbfounded. The mutton in his mouth almost fell out. It took him quite a while to process it, before he genuinely asked, "How can you just casually say something so completely heartless?" My eyes were clear and totally innocent. Is that really such a wicked idea? Better them than us, right? Isn't that just how it works? If they don't want their countries wiped out, then they can pay us to build the dam. Those little southwestern states are overflowing with gems. It's not like they can't afford it. Xiao Jingyan's eyes totally lit up. Forgetting all about lecturing me, he hopped on his horse and rushed to the palace before I even finished my meal. After hearing the Crown Prince's brilliant suggestion, His Majesty's face was a complicated mix of emotions. "This was your wife's idea, wasn't it?" Xiao Jingyan froze. "How did you know, father?" The emperor gave a dry, awkward chuckle. "I have heard a few rumors about the Crown Princess's track record." The very next day in the royal court, this proposal left. Every single official dead silent. Everyone's logic and moral compass went through a violent inner struggle, before passing it with a unanimous vote. After all, Great Yang wasn't actually going to blow up Wulong Mountain. It was just a bluff to force our neighbors to cooperate. After pulling that off, Xiao Jingyan became even more curious about my past. Before this, he had only heard bits and pieces about my status in the Shen family army. But His Highness simply didn't believe I could lead troops into battle. Sure, I'm pretty tall for a girl, but put me in an army and I'm absolutely nothing. Especially since the soldiers of Northern Liang are all massive giants. In a real brawl, you wouldn't even spot me in the crowd. And yet, in our last major victory at the northern border, I was undeniably the #1 contributor. When my father and brother submitted the battle report, His Majesty didn't doubt a single word of it, and rewarded me handsomely. "So, what exactly did you do?" he asked. I was a little confused by his question. "Wait, your father never told you?" Xiao Jingyan honestly shook his head. "Ha ha ha, he was probably terrified that if he told you the truth, you wouldn't marry me." Xiao Jingyan couldn't hold back his laughter. "Ha ha ha ha, what, were you going to eat people or something?" I grabbed a handful of sunflower seeds and handed them to him. Bringing up that past battle brought back a lot of feelings. Back then, the massive army of Northern Liang was closing in on our borders, hoping to crush us in one fell swoop and snatch a few cities away from Great Yang. Their first prince was leading the troops personally, and they came in fiercely. It definitely put a ton of pressure on the Shen family army. However, as the two armies faced off at the border, we didn't just clash right away. There were some small skirmishes, testing the waters on both sides, with a few wins and losses here and there. Both my father and brother knew that Northern Liang was just waiting for the right moment. This time every year is when our border rations hit rock bottom. The Northern Liang army simply wanted to bleed our food supplies dry. So, we had to end the battle quickly. I knew we couldn't keep dragging it out like this. Otherwise, we'd fall right into the Northern Liang army's trap. So, I ordered my men to gather our highest quality rations, packed them all up, and had some soldiers disguise themselves as a supply transport unit. Sure enough, the Northern Liang scouts spotted them and hijacked all those premium supplies. "You poisoned the rations?" he asked. "No way, poison in military rations is way too easy to detect. All those colorless, odorless, deadly poisons you hear about, the ones that silver needles can't even pick up. Those are highly guarded secrets of the noble families. Us border troops don't have that kind of luxury." Xiao Jingyan looked even more confused. Then what was it? Well, love potions can't be detected, but actually, you can't even call it a love potion. It was more like animal medicine, the kind used to help large livestock go into heat for breeding. I dumped all of it in. That night, the entire Northern Liang camp went completely out of control. When we led the cavalry in for a surprise attack, oh man, the scene. Xiao Jingyan's face went completely dark, feeling like I had just reached the best part of the story. I eagerly slapped his thigh and said, "My big brother and I burst right into the first prince's tent, only to find him getting hot and heavy with their great general. It was a full-on passionate roll in the hay. Just picture it, Xiao Jingyan looked like he was about to throw up. I'd really rather not. And then, I scratched my cheek. Then we just packed up the two lovebirds and brought them back with us, of course. Even though my dad and my brother both thought I had played a dirty trick on the enemy, I firmly believe they were just showing their true love for each other. I mean, think about it. It's not like the Northern Liang army has a shortage of pretty soldiers. Why did those two specifically end up rolling around together? So right then and there, I offered to throw a huge wedding for them at the Shen family camp. Xiao Jingyan looked like he wanted to drop dead right there. That expression on his face looked incredibly familiar. My dad and big brother had the exact same look back then. However, my brilliant idea was met with intense opposition from my dad and brother. But they did send a letter to the king of Northern Liang, detailing all of my elaborate wedding plans. The Northern Liang king sent a reply overnight, begging for negotiations and pleading with my dad to stop me at all costs. And you know the rest. I looked at Xiao Jingyan, whose shoulders were practically shaking from holding back his laughter. I sincerely shared my personal theory with him. I'm betting one of the Northern Liang king's conditions for surrendering was making my dad send me back to the capital. The old man just couldn't accept his son's steamy romance with the general. So he banished me, their one and only supporter, far, far away. Xiao Jingyan couldn't hold it in anymore and burst out laughing. I heard the king of Northern Liang fell severely ill, he laughed. I assumed it was because they lost the war. But now it sounds like he got sick from sheer anger because of you. I was totally clueless about my own wickedness. That old guy always had terrible health, his legs aching from rheumatism his whole life. Now his son turns out to like men, he can't cope with it, and somehow that's my fault too? After our little heart-to-heart that night, I could clearly feel that Xiao Jingyan respected me a whole lot more. When I went back to visit my family, my mother asked how things were going with His Highness the Crown Prince. I answered with total confidence, "Oh, it's great. Honestly, if we swore a blood oath right now, he'd gladly call me his big bro." I got kicked out of my parents' house before I even got to eat dinner. Even though we didn't become sworn brothers, Xiao Jingyan definitely didn't treat me like an ordinary inner court matriarch, whether it was a major event or a tiny issue in the royal court. He was always willing to share it all with me. My only regret was that he rarely ever took my advice. Sometime in early June, a massive crisis hit the court. The imperial envoy sent by the emperor had been assassinated. The emperor was absolutely furious in court. He didn't just order the 3 judicial offices to conduct a strict investigation. He even ordered the crown prince to go supervise the scene in person. Before Xiao Jingyan left, he warned me over and over again. "No matter who offends you, please just hold your temper. Wait for me to come back and get revenge for you. It's not worth getting your own hands dirty. They are all citizens of Daeong, so whatever they do, they probably don't deserve to die." I seriously suspect he was secretly insulting me while pretending to care. Xiao Jingyan was gone for over half a month, but we kept in touch through letters the whole time. Judging from the bits and pieces in his letters, the investigation was going absolutely nowhere. Well, that makes sense. If they had the guts to attack an imperial envoy, how could they not have a plan to cover their tracks? When he had been gone for almost a full month, he finally sent someone back home. I was completely clueless. His Highness sent you all the way back to the capital, just to deliver these? Xiao Jingyan's personal guard nodded repeatedly. Please forgive him, Crown Princess. His Highness is incredibly busy. Otherwise, he would have sent these back to you much sooner. Actually, the moment His Highness arrived there, he ordered us to gather all these things for you. But then the investigation ran into trouble, and His Highness was completely swamped. That is why it was delayed for so long. I looked at the table entirely covered in delicious food. I was practically moved to tears. Xiao Jingyan was doing a total crap job with his mission, but he still remembered to send me food despite being so insanely busy. The Crown Prince really is a sweet guy. Well, it is rude not to return a favor. I should probably put on a show and pretend to care about how Xiao Jingyan is doing right now. His guard hesitated slightly. Everything else is fine. It is just that the investigation isn't going very well. His Highness has even lost weight lately. The enemy has set up a ton of traps, leading us to investigate in the completely wrong direction. Go tell His Highness to just pin the blame entirely on the Yenyang Zhao family. The guard looked absolutely horrified. Crown Princess, are you telling us to frame them? We don't have any evidence at all. Wow, you really were trained by Your Highness, weren't you? Just take my exact words back to His Highness and tell him to frame them directly. Don't hold back. Since when does the Crown Prince need actual evidence to handle a case? Think about the case His Highness is investigating. The Yenyang Zhao family are the local mob bosses. For the Zhao family to grow into such a massive power in just a few decades, their hands definitely aren't clean. Now, if His Highness pins the murder of the Imperial Envoy on them, their family obviously won't confess. But if they let His Highness do a thorough investigation, they'll be terrified of their own dirty laundry getting dug up. So, to clear their own names, the Zhao family will help His Highness find the real killer. A mighty dragon needs to know how to use the local snakes. Whatever you guys can't uncover, the Zhao family definitely can. Do you get it now? After everything is settled, just have His Highness give them a quick apology and it's all good. Crown Princess, you can actually handle things this way? I've learned my lesson. Stick with me and you'll learn a lot more. I guarantee you'll become His Highness's right-hand man in no time. Ha ha ha. No thanks. 10 days later. Victory news reached the capital. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince has uncovered the truth behind the case and caught the real culprit. They will be escorted to the capital in a few days. The court is full of praise. No one expected such a tough nut to crack could be handled so smoothly by the Crown Prince. Only the Emperor, who learned the truth from a secret report, had a complicated look on his face. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Jingyan and I have been married for almost 6 months now. We get along pretty great, just like bros. Of course, I will take most of the credit for that. I am just naturally easygoing and open-minded. Plus, I used my brilliant mind to give His Royal Highness a little help along the way. Xiao Jingyan is just too narrow-minded. He could never come up with ideas that are even a little bit wicked. Xiao Jingyan trusts me, and he never tries to hold me back. Not only does he give me the best food and clothes, but he also makes time in his busy schedule to take me out for fun. Just when everyone in the capital thought the Crown Prince and I were the picture of a perfect couple, an unexpected twist happened. Su Wanqing returned to the capital. With half a chicken leg hanging from my mouth, I looked completely shocked. Who came back? My maid looked around nervously, lowered her voice, and leaned in close. The Su family's daughter, Su Wanqing. You know, before, His Highness. And then Miss Su got married, that one. It suddenly dawned on me. Oh, that married woman. My maid was totally thrown off by my reaction. She paused for a second, then went right back to spilling the tea. Your Highness, I heard Miss Su came back to the capital all by herself. Her husband is still away on official duty. He didn't even come back with her this time. It looks like her trip here is definitely not innocent. Her love for gossip rubbed off on me, and my face lit up with excitement. Do you think this Miss Su is gonna come looking for our Highness to rekindle their old romance? My maid's mouth twitched as she gave me a look. Your Highness, could you please have a little sense of danger about your own marriage? How can you just sit there and enjoy the drama? I really don't think so. His Highness and you have been married for so long now. Besides, I never even heard that Miss Su had feelings for His Highness back then. What would she even come to our mansion for? I had no idea what she was here to do. But surprisingly enough, Su Wanqing actually showed up. Su Wanqing. She totally lived up to being the woman His Highness secretly crushed on. With her bright eyes and beautiful smile, she was absolutely stunning. Just standing there, she looked exactly like a painting. Even though she politely exchanged pleasantries with me for a bit, her eyes were obviously glued to Xiao Jingyan the whole time. The gossip soul inside me was burning fiercely. I just couldn't help myself and decided to give them some alone time. I have a few things to take care of. Could your highness please keep Madame Zhou company for a little while? I will be right back. Xiao Jingyan pretended to get up to see me out, but he was rolling his eyes so hard they almost got stuck in his head. I gave him a bunch of exaggerated winks, secretly hinting for him to grab this chance. Xiao Jingyan was so pissed off at me, seeing that he couldn't stop me. He had no choice but to bite the bullet and sit back down. As soon as I left the front hall, I immediately waved my maid over and we jogged all the way around to the side of the courtyard. There was a massive tree right there. If you climbed it, you could get straight onto the roof of the front hall. A chance to eavesdrop like this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. At first, my maid was worried about my safety, but seeing me scramble up the tree like a monkey, she only had time to shoot me a quick thumbs up. I adjusted my posture and pressed my ear right against the roof tiles. After what felt like ages, the voices inside gradually faded away. The maid waiting down below coughed twice, but I didn't think much of it. She coughed 2 more times, and I simply waved my hand to quiet her down. Seeing that she was about to cough up a lung, I finally had to speak up and stop her. Gosh, keep your voice down. I can't even hear what they're saying inside anymore. I'm telling you, it's completely silent right now. Do you think they might already be kissing? Hee hee hee. But the very moment I turned my head around, there was Xiao Jingyan, standing right next to the maid, staring at me with utter disbelief. I stood up awkwardly and tried to break the tension with a random comment. Wow, this big tree sure is a really big tree. Xiao Jingyan's face instantly darkened. Alrighty then. Xiao Jingyan massaged his temples with a gentle sigh. He escorted me back to the front hall. So, how much of that did you overhear? I put on a super sincere attitude to admit my mistake. I overheard that. She wants you to help her get a divorce, but you politely turned her down. Why is that? Xiao Jingyan reached out and playfully flicked my forehead. What do you mean, why? She wants to divorce her husband. Why on earth would I jump in to help? People who don't know the truth would think I'm out here wrecking someone else's marriage. Besides, if I were to intervene in her private business, it would make your position here in the capital really awkward too. Oh, that doesn't matter at all. I don't care about stuff like that. She traveled 1,000 miles back to the capital all by herself. She must have run into some real trouble. Perhaps, after all, you two did share some friendship back when you were younger. Now that she's openly asking for help, if we just turn our backs on her, it would make us look heartless and ungrateful for old ties. If it's not really appropriate for you to get involved in this matter, just leave it to me. However, before we help Miss Su secure her divorce, we really need to investigate the underlying cause first. A marriage breaking up is no minor matter. It would be terrible if our good intentions ended up making things worse. Xiao Jingyan smiled gently and raised his hand to softly rub the exact spot on my forehead he had just flicked. Alright, we will do things your way. But even if we really are going to step up and help Madame Zhou, you must discuss your strategy with me first. You cannot just act first and ask for forgiveness later. Hey now, I didn't really appreciate that one bit. Sure, my ideas might sometimes be a bit diabolical, absolutely chaotic, and downright outrageous. But overall, they are super effective. Not too long after that, the investigators sent to look into Su Wanqing's husband returned. It's just that, the truth completely caught both me and Xiao Jingyan off guard. Su Wanqing's husband was actually totally fine. It turned out that this romanticism-obsessed young lady was simply way too impossible to please. She is bursting with artistic flair, so rather than wanting to marry a standard husband, she actually wanted to find a true soulmate. Honestly, that is just total wishful thinking. Even the legendary Yu Boya had to cross countless grand mountains and rivers just to find one single person who understood his music. Yet Miss Su lives completely out of touch with reality. Whenever she has some tiny feeling or desire, she absolutely refuses to speak up. She insists on making her husband play exhausting guessing games, and if he guesses wrong, she blames him for not understanding her heart. At first, she would just throw minor tantrums, but eventually, things escalated until she even refused to share a bed with her husband. They've only been married a few years. Both of them are still very young. Since Su Wanqing refused to fulfill her duties as a wife, Lord Zhou took a concubine for himself. Normally, this is pretty standard for noble families, but Su Wanqing just couldn't accept it. She saw it as a total betrayal of their marriage, and immediately threw a massive fit. Ignoring everyone who tried to stop her, she headed back to the capital all by herself. After getting back, Su Wanqing swore she was going to divorce her husband. Her family obviously didn't agree to it, which is why she came begging at the crown prince's estate. Hearing all this, I was honestly pretty annoyed with Su Wanqing. It seems she knows exactly how Xiao Jingyan used to feel about her. Not only does she know, but she's completely smug about it. She actually thinks His Highness is just another one of her devoted admirers, otherwise she wouldn't have brought such a scandalous matter to Xiao Jingyan. She must know that if Xiao Jingyan actually stepped in, it would completely ruin his reputation. Interfering in a minister's private family matters would make all the officials question the crown prince's character. I'm not entirely sure if Su Wanqing is still as important to Xiao Jingyan as she used to be. But I do know that Su Wanqing won't give up easily. She will definitely use his past feelings to keep pressuring him. In this awkward dilemma, I'm the only one who can step in and save the day. Send a message to Lady Zhou. Tell her the crown princess believes the Eastern Palace shouldn't interfere in a minister's private affairs. Tell her it takes lifetimes of destiny to become husband and wife. And that I hope she and Lord Zhou can reconcile and grow old together. Xiao Jingyan lowered his head slightly, but the smirk on his face completely gave him away. He knew I was just looking out for him. But to Su Wanqing, she probably thought I was going crazy with jealousy. When facing a loser, the calm and unbothered attitude of a winner is the sharpest blade of all. So, Su Wanqing started trying everything she could to get me to meet her. Since her marriage was falling apart, she wanted to use me to make herself feel better. Thinking, so what if I'm the crown princess? I still can't win the crown prince's heart. In the end, I couldn't keep turning her down. So I finally agreed to go horseback riding with her and a few other noble ladies from the capital. I never expected that such a simple little gathering would almost get someone killed. The moment the news reached the capital, Xiao Jingyan dropped everything he was doing. He rode straight out to the countryside. By the time he reached our group, Xiao Jingyan leapt off his horse, barely even keeping his balance, and came running straight towards me. Ling Shuang, you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? Xiao Jingyan grabbed my hands tightly, looking me up and down to check for injuries. I felt a little embarrassed, so I quickly squeezed his hands back. I'm fine. A wild boar just suddenly charged out and spooked the horses. Thankfully, everyone is completely safe. The daughter of the vice censor quickly stepped forward. It's all my fault. My horse was the one that got spooked. Thank goodness the crown princess stepped in to help. I almost got Her Highness hurt. Please forgive me, Your Highness. Only then did Xiao Jingyan finally snap back to reality. Ling Shuang comes from a family of generals, and she has even led troops to fight on the front lines. Unlike the sheltered ladies of the capital, she actually has some real martial arts skills. Saving people in danger is simply her instinct. Miss Zheng, you really don't need to blame yourself. Even though Xiao Jingyan was speaking to Miss Zheng, he never let go of my hand. Since everyone is unharmed, I will arrange for my guards to escort you all safely back to the capital. It was only as Xiao Jingyan said this that he finally noticed Su Wanqing was actually there too. But Xiao Jingyan didn't show much reaction at all, just giving her a slight nod. It barely counted as a greeting. At this moment, Su Wanqing felt utterly humiliated. She had come today with the clear intention of putting me in my place, but before she could even say a few threatening words, Xiao Jingyan's actions completely slapped her in the face. The way she glared at me was filled with undisguised confusion and burning anger. She just couldn't understand how a fierce and unrestrained woman like me could possibly replace a delicate fairy like her. In Xiao Jingyan's heart, seeing that Su Wanqing was on the verge of tears from sheer anger, I suddenly looped my arm through Xiao Jingyan's. Your Highness rode a horse here. So how about you give me a ride back? I don't want to ride by myself anymore. Xiao Jingyan gave me a half smile, knowing perfectly well that I was being deliberately mischievous. No more horse riding. You were badly frightened today. We'll take the carriage back. And we won't eat at the estate tonight, either. We'll go to Drunken Immortal Restaurant to calm your nerves. Xiao Jingyan and I smiled at each other. In perfect sync, Xiao Jingyan arranged for his guards to send the other ladies safely home. Meanwhile, he took me into the Crown Prince's carriage for the bumpy ride back. On the way, Xiao Jingyan stubbornly refused to let go of my hand. I belatedly realized that he had genuinely been terrified for me today. Recalling how his eyes had been completely filled with me just now, I tried so hard to suppress a smile. Sigh, I was originally thinking of giving up the position of crown princess in the future. But unfortunately, some people just don't try hard enough. They're not even as good as me. Xiao Jingyan lowered his head and laughed out loud. I gently bumped his shoulder with mine. Your Highness, tell me, after you ascend the throne, if I become empress, will I lose all my freedom? Will I still be able to go out and play like today, and eat at restaurants? Xiao Jingyan answered without hesitation. Whether you are the crown princess, or the empress, or even the empress dowager, you can do absolutely whatever you want. I beamed with joy, but before my words of gratitude could even leave my mouth, Xiao Jingyan ruined the moment. As long as you don't commit treason and defect to the enemy, you're fine. Raising you won't cost me that much. But if I ever let you get away, I'd have to sleep with one eye open every single night. In the 10th year of our marriage, Xiao Jingyan inherited the throne. We also had a son and a daughter by our side. Our eldest son, Xiao Weijin, was named Crown Prince the moment he was born. Xiao Jingyan placed extremely high hopes on him. One day, after finishing morning court, Xiao Jingyan came straight to my palace. As soon as he walked in, he saw 8-year-old Xiao Weijin standing for punishment, holding a heavy long sword. Xiao Jingyan smiled and pleaded for his son. What happened? Did he make his royal mother angry again? I really couldn't hold it in, and rolled my eyes at him. Your son is so young, yet he's already mastered the art of pitting people against each other over a prize. He begged my father for 2 precious swords, saying he wanted to reward his 3 martial arts masters. He made the masters fight it out with real weapons, saying only the winners could get the duke's reward. And then, all 3 masters got injured one after another. So now, he doesn't have to attend his martial arts classes anymore. Xiao Jingyan laughed so hard he was doubling over. He really is our son. I never liked practicing martial arts when I was young, either. Back then, I would rather spend the entire day in the imperial study than go out to the training grounds. I suppose our boy gets that from me. But thankfully, he's got a sharp mind. He's just like you in that regard. He even knows how to scheme in broad daylight to outsmart his martial arts instructor. When he enters the royal court in the future, he definitely won't be at a disadvantage. I got even angrier when I brought this up. At a disadvantage? We'd be lucky if he doesn't scheme against everyone else. I don't even dare to think about how many court officials he's going to torment. I'm afraid his page in the history books will be filled with nothing but infamy. Xiao Jingyan just smiled without saying a word, but the look in his eyes was painfully obvious. With your moral standards, you're actually worried about this? I was so exasperated by Xiao Jingyan that I burst out laughing. I gave him a light punch, temporarily letting our devious little son off the hook. The other day, I asked him what he would do if he ever had to fight his brothers for the throne, and how he would handle it. Xiao Jingyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He is only 8 years old. Isn't it a bit early to be talking about things like that? I gave him a deadpan look. You have no idea what your 8-year-old son actually said. He said he would start extorting bribes from the court officials even earlier. He wants the high-ranking ministers and noble families to constantly funnel silver into his pockets. Because human nature is such that the more they invest, the harder it is for them to back out. That way, he gains the backing of the noble families, as well as all their silver. And just like that, he wouldn't ever have to worry about anyone threatening his position. I mean, just listen to him. Is that something a normal person would say? Xiao Jingyan was laughing so hard he couldn't even stand up straight. He just kept leaning affectionately against me. Don't be mad, don't be mad. Our son will never need to fight anyone for the throne. Just like his mother, he is completely irreplaceable in my heart. I gave him a wry smile and shot him a sideways glance. I finally understood exactly where the root of the problem came from. Talk about instant karma.